So lads, today the referees gave the report on the situation, and it's even worse. It's even worse than I imagined, and it was pretty.
The WNBA referees have just put out their official report on the Connecticut Sun mess, and somehow it's even more frustrating than anyone expected. Their reasons for singling out Caitlin Clark while seeming to shield the players who went after her are so out there that fans are completely outraged. This report basically confirms all the concerns people had about biased officiating in the league.
Why was JC Sheldon's foul upgraded to flagrant one? In the judgment of the officials, the foul by Sheldon was unnecessary. The contact of Clark's face. Furthermore, there was a wind-up and impact, and the contact to face carries potential for injury. How did you come to the conclusion that that is a flagrant one? How did you come up to the conclusion that it was unnecessary? There was a wind-up, and it was to the face. The three of them that is a flagrant 2. By definition, you've described a flagrant 2.
After reading the refs' weak explanations, you really have to wonder, is the WNBA purposely trying to bring Caitlin Clark down? The official referee report from the Connecticut Sun versus Indiana Fever game just came out, and honestly, it's one of the clearest signs yet that something is seriously off with the league's officiating. These refs didn't just miss the mark. They completely exposed their bias against Caitlin Clark, all while going out of their way to protect the players who went after her. Let's break down this report because every single excuse they give somehow makes them look worse. It's like watching someone admit to doing something wrong while trying to argue that they're still innocent. First up, the explanation for why JCS Sheldon's eye-gouging hit on Clark was only labeled a flagrant one.
Final Cup championship bound, baby! Woo! Big Cup, baby! Woo! Be here, man. It got a little crazy out there, but we made it through.
We're gonna keep stacking the day, so see you in the championship.
Bow, bow, bow! Let's go!
The June 17th matchup was pure revenge, not a routine tip-off. Flashback to May 30th, JC Sheldon and the Connecticut Sun left Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson writhing on the hardwood. No whistles, no justice. The Fever never forgot. Fast forward to the rematch. Sheldon jabs Caitlin Clark straight in the eye, and the temperature in the arena spikes. In that instant, Indiana's nice game mentality vanished. Enter Sophie Cunningham. She barrels in with a thunderous highlight reel flagrant that screams, "You don't mess with our star." It's the kind of payback that sends a message across the entire league, and it might be the most gratifying foul you'll ever watch.
Be the last time these two teams faced off too. Sophie Cunningham suffered her ankle injury in that game, but in addition to that, she actually had part of her front tooth knocked out. She made contact with JC Sheldon as Caitlin Clark knocks down the triple.
But what people don't talk about enough is how hard you have to work to be able to be that good. All the hours that she's spent perfecting her craft.
Retreating, firing and hitting.
So she can do that.
On Indiana arguing the call.
I mean, step back, you're late. She almost looks you in the eye.
Rewind to May 30th, Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. From the very first whistle, the night veers off script. What starts as a routine standings battle mutates into a rough and tumble brawl. Connecticut ups the contact, hard screens, sharp elbows, pushing past competitive straight into danger. Every collision cranks the tension higher. You could feel the arena buzzing, like everyone knew this matchup was one bad hit away from exploding.
Can we talk about the physicality for a second? 2 players on the Indiana Fever got injured last night by the same player on the Connecticut Sun, and that was JC Sheldon. And I tweeted about it. She was playing so reckless. I'm fine with players playing aggressive, but there is a thin line between playing aggressive and playing reckless. When you dive for a ball, you don't land on somebody's leg. She landed on top of Sydney Colson's leg, and her leg got stuck and literally twisted around. Both injuries, both Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham, were contact injuries.
Sophie
Cunningham was the first to hit the deck, clobbered by a blow that felt more like a cheap shot than a standard bump. The impact was brutal, way beyond routine contact. Minutes later, Sydney Colson went down on another suspicious collision, and the entire arena started asking, what on earth is going on out there? One player connected to both incidents, JC Sheldon, was unleashing the kind of hyper-aggressive play that makes every spectator's blood boil.
They weren't non-contact. They weren't ACLs, they weren't Achilles, they were contact injuries caused by the same player. And this kind of physicality that the WNBA they brag about. They say it's always been a physical league. That's just the heart of the It's not good basketball. And we've seen so many injuries. Paige Becker's out with a concussion. Rakia Jackson was out with a concussion. All of these injuries are contact plays. We've seen Caitlin Clark last year get chucked to the ground. We saw Angel Reese get clothesline chucked to the ground. The players continue to do it because the refs are allowing them. Why wouldn't you keep doing it if you're a physical player?
Flashback to their Big Ten showdowns. Iowa's sharpshooter Caitlin Clark and Ohio State's relentless J.C. Sheldon were already locked in a grudge match. Every time they shared a court, Sheldon flipped the irritate Clark switch, tailing her through every cut, slamming into screens, and chirping non-stop during stoppages. At that point, it wasn't just hoops, it was a personal score to settle.
Her mortal enemy took out a player. J.C. Sheldon. Caitlin Clark's mortal enemy. J.C. Sheldon.
May 30's officials might as well have been wearing blinders. Big hits. No whistle. Risky body checks. Play on. Caitlin Clark could only watch as her teammates got battered while J.C. Sheldon skated away without even a side-eye from the stripes. With every no call, Indiana's frustration spiked. The Fever still clawed to an 85-83 finish, but the real damage was off the stat sheet. Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Coulson left injured. Losses that never happen if the refs keep the game under control, and losses that would haunt the Fever in the weeks ahead.
This is a reckless play. This is reckless. It is dangerous. And this angle makes it look even worse. It is dangerous. Like, Sid Coulson is between her and the ball. Sid Coulson is, in fact, between J.C. Sheldon and the ball, and she dives through her knee. It wasn't even called as a foul. It wasn't even called as a...
The moment the buzzer sounded on May 30th, Caitlin Clark's glare said everything. Handshake line, she locked onto J.C. Sheldon and never blinked. Post-game presser, answers tight, voice flat, promise of payback in every word. Indiana filed that night under unfinished business. Who threw the cheap shots? Who swallowed the whistles? Who wound up hurt? It was all etched in memory. June 17th couldn't arrive fast enough, and when it did, Clark, quad finally healed, fresh off a statement rout of the previously unbeaten Liberty, strode in for just her second game back after 3 weeks out. Each warm-up lap, each sideways glance at the Sun bench broadcast the same message. This isn't another regular season tip-off, it's the reckoning.
She just texts me. She never texts me during the game.
All right. Here is Clark splashing home a three from way downtown. Kelly escorting her back to the bench.
J.C. Sheldon is there with her hand in her face.
Tip-off hits, and the tension is thick enough to slice. J.C. Sheldon glues herself to Caitlin Clark, nose to nose, hip to hip, crowding every dribble. She slips through screens with a shoulder, leans on cuts, adds those sneaky shoves that turn hoops into hand-to-hand combat. It's the same roughhouse style that sidelined Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Coulson back in May, and everyone in the building can sense the fuse burning.
And Caitlin Clark are talking to the official. They're both going at it saying, hey, oh, there's a little extra right there. Uh-oh. Then Marina steps in to protect JC.
Mid-third quarter, the spark finally ignites. Clark eases the ball across half court. Sheldon jumps into her path. She reaches for a swipe, but a stray finger spears Clark's eye instead. The poke is blatant. Clark's head snaps back on contact, and the whole arena inhales at once.
Third quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and J.C. Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down.
Clark is okay.
Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabry comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both sides.
Clark's hands fly to her face, fury flashing behind the pain. She's blinking through tears, but the real sting is knowing exactly who tagged her. The same agitator who sidelined her teammates weeks earlier. This was no fluke. Instinct takes over. Clark gives Sheldon a firm shove to create space. Exactly how anyone would react after a thumb to the eye. The arena detonates, fans roaring in outrage because they all caught the cheap shot. Yet, unbelievably, the officials are about to pour gasoline on the fire.
I mean, is that displacement? I think it is.
Oh, and Marina Mabry's going to get ejected. If the officials saw that, Marina Mabry is going to get ejected.
Well, they're going to go and look at it. Look at Mabry. She's got a scar on one side, a scratch on one side of her face, a scratch on the other side. It's not from the game today. I asked her about it. She's always in the mix. There's a lot of contact here. There's a scrape across the face. That's what Clark did.
Clark is doubled over, palms pressed to her stinging eye, obviously the one who's been wronged. Yet the officials start chirping on their whistles. Confusion ripples through the crowd. Fans point at the Jumbotron where the slow-mo replay makes the eye poke painfully clear. You'd expect the stripes to hit Sheldon with a flagrant. Instead, they slap Clark with a technical for shoving the hand that gouged her. Think about it, 32 points in her first game back, carrying the fever, and she's the one punished for a basic self-defense shove. The whistle tells every player in the league, go ahead, take a cheap shot at Clark. If she reacts, she'll pay the price. And that misguided tech is only the spark. From the bench, Marina Mabray is watching this train wreck brew, and she's about to crank the drama to an entirely new level.
Another look as we try to figure out what exactly went down. So you see her get hit in the face. JC Sheldon doesn't like that, and everybody on the team doesn't like it. Marina, trying to have her teammates back, pushes her down. You see a little bit of drama all the way around. Tina, Charles, Clark, and Mabry, they received technical fouls. Sheldon received a
Barely a heartbeat passes after the Phantom Tech, and Marina Mabry snaps. While Clark's still hunched over, blinking through the eye pain, Mabry strides in, fed up fury written all over her, and unleashes a move so jaw-dropping it yanks the entire arena to its feet. Mabray didn't just foul Clark, she steamrolled her hockey style, blasting her clear off balance and flattening her to the hardwood. The collision was so blatant and needless that even fans scrolling their phones in the upper deck caught it. Clark crashed down, stunned, instantly grasping that yet another Sun player had lined her up for a cheap shot.
Sophie Cunningham showed that she is, you know, the old Caitlin Clark enforcer. She is the Caitlin Clark enforcer. That has been shown. She is the enforcer that the Fever have needed for the last year, and she has responded. She has responded.
What do you get when Sophie Cunningham drops the basketball and takes on the role of bodyguard like she's been personally hired by the Secret Service to protect Caitlin Clark? Complete chaos. Emotions running high, locker room tensions boiling over, and Sophie handing out heat like it's part of her new job description.
Sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, is anybody on this team gonna stand up for Caitlin Clark? JC Sheldon grabbing Caitlin Clark all game, clawing at her. It's like tonight was a brawl, folks. Tonight was a brawl, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, is anybody on this team going to stand up for? And Sophie Cunningham, Sophie Cunningham, Sophie Cunningham.
When Sophie snapped, it wasn't some quick outburst. It felt like the start of a full-blown superhero origin story. She didn't just come to play, she came with a mission to take down the entire Connecticut Sun, like she'd been preparing for it all season long. This wasn't just your usual on-court drama, it was a scorched earth approach. And the aftermath hit hard. So how did Sophie finally speak out after getting tossed from the game for standing up to the Connecticut Sun bullies and defending Caitlin Clark? We're about to break it all down.
Let's start with the play that set off the entire night. So as you guys can see here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin Clark. She swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin Clark nudges her off because JC stays in her face. And then Tina Charles runs over and is kind of wagging her finger in Caitlin Clark's face. And then Marina Mabry comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabry, bat out of hell, chucks Caitlin.
Everyone in the Siwa head, the best about it, boy.
From the second Sophie Cunningham laced up her sneaker, the entire WNBA should have been on notice. She didn't show up for just another game, she showed up ready for battle. This wasn't about knocking down threes or running clean pick and rolls. Sophie had one goal in mind: make sure no one laid a hand on Caitlin Clark without facing serious, game-changing consequences. Picture her as a walking firewall. Step into her zone and you're getting burned.
Welcome to WNBA Fight Night, or as some people are saying, WNBA Raw, whatever. a game that was. We had it all. We had basketball, we had fighting, we had blonde on blonde crime. Oh, such an epic. Oh, goodness. But at the end of the day, it resulted in an Indiana Fever W. 88-71, taking care of business.
It's my take on Chloe.
Let's be honest, Sophie wasn't acting like just another teammate out there. She was more like the head of security at Area 51. Throw an elbow at Caitlyn, suddenly Sophie's right there, popping up like she teleported in, bringing the fury of 10 fired up gym teachers and a crossover that feels more like a warning shot. Bump Caitlyn after the whistle? Congrats. You just called in the basketball version of the Grim Reaper, ponytail and all. And she's got the receipts to back it up.
Let's start here. This is, of course, Sophie and Sheldon going down the floor. Sophie tries to wrap her up, and Sheldon gets to the floor, and all hell breaks loose. And Sophie said, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. We'll go. We'll go. So there's that. That, of course, was all a byproduct of this right here, folks. And I mean, when I tell you, social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way. That's the understatement.
Sophie doesn't warm up. She patrols. She moves around the court like a hyper alert hawk, eyes locked in, ready to shut down any sign of trouble before it even starts. And when the chaos finally hits, she steps in as the court's judge, jury, and executioner. Make one wrong move near Caitlyn, and Sophie's already sliding into your lane, handing out justice with a solid shoulder check for good measure. Her body language doesn't say let's play. It says test me and book an appointment with your chiropractor.
Of course, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected because that was unwarranted. She literally came out of nowhere and chucked Caitlin Clark. There should be a flagrant one, of course, on JC Sheldon because she swiped her and hit her in the eyeball. Whether it is intentional or not, you can still have a flagrant a flagrant foul called on you, whether you are trying to intentionally hurt somebody or not. But this is what they called, you guys. This is what they called. Caitlin Clark, Marina Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlin, Marina, and Tina Charles. Technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. And JC Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were ejected.